Hello and welcome back to yet again another video. In the last video, we covered working on these electrical block thingies that kill you when you touch them. Today we're going to work on something a little bit similar along the lines of a environment hazard. We're going to work on some lasers. Lasers that slice you and enemies in half, or at least that's going to be the idea. So that's what we're going to work on today. It should be an interesting challenge. We're also going to try to make it so some of the lasers are going to move back and forth, up and down, stuff like that. Should be pretty fun. For now, I started with just creating the most simple blueprint for it. I'm in the test level right now where we are going to test this out. And I think the very first thing we want is the laser to go from one location to the next, and we want to set a max distance for it to go. We don't want it to be, infinite unless that's what we want. So we'll allow ourselves to specify those values and stuff and kind of get a start from there. All right, well, I went ahead and copy pasted some of the laser code for our player character's laser, the little red dot laser type thing. And that is what I'm using here. So I already have a line trace going through and doing a bunch of stuff here. And I believe it's already working. I've made it so we can change the distance and stuff like that. Go right through. Although I would like to make it so the only thing that actually stops this is perhaps static object, and instead the line trace will keep going if it's like a soft object, like a player character, for example. So I might do that real quick. Shouldn't be too difficult, I think. All right, I've made additional progress. I added some stuff to the construction script. That way we can preview the distance of the laser when we adjust the size. As you can tell, it's getting larger and smaller. And I also added a damage event, which uses our damage interface to deal damage, instant kill damage, 999, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, that's basically it. That's the entire system. It's basically done. Thanks for watching, like, and subscribe. But I guess that's not everything. I want this to slice enemies and the player in half. We already have a bit of a basis for a dismemberment system, although we do have to specifically specify bones in our system, but we should be able to get something going where we can slice enemies in half. And obviously we also got to work on the visuals of this because this is not good enough, but let's get to it. So if you're wondering how the basis of this dismemberment system works, we have a separate animation blueprint for the cutoff limbs. I added spine, and I have no idea if it's going to work, so we're going to try it out. But we essentially scale down the pelvis by, I think this is 100 times, and then we scale it. We scale our bone that we want back up. So if someone were to, in theory, zoom in to our character and somehow find this, they'll see the little mannequin guy in all of his glory right there. But the chances of someone being able to see that is extremely slim. So this works pretty well. Now, one thing that is weird is that obviously with skinning, you do have issues where like the end of the limb is like pinched, which looks really weird. Chances are we're probably going to deal with that with our spine, but we'll see what happens. What's the worst that could happen, right? All right, okay. I've made some additional progress. I copy-pasted a bunch of the dismemberment system stuff from our katana. I also have a setting for disabling gore, so I made sure to put this in here as well. That way, if someone disables this, they won't see, bodies getting split in half, I guess. It's there, nonetheless. And we got it going. It's mostly just hide bone by name, and then we're just creating a dismembered limb. I got my little my guy here, and we're just gonna go on ahead and slice him in half. But you can notice that the upper body doesn't really launch in the direction where he's going. So I kind of want to maybe fix that. He's making a noise when he's dying. I changed some of the grunt sounds, but it sounds a little, doesn't sound right. Well, oh, I'm gonna take a look at what's going there. All right, well, I added a precaution to make sure that we only ever hit a character once. That way it doesn't spawn 5 million versions of it. So now we can get sliced in half like a pizza. Yeah. Well, not really like a pizza. I don't know. I want to work on some of the impulses because some of the impulses do feel a little odd. I think by default, this limb will add an impulse in a specific direction. It's also going to slow down time, which is kind of annoying. All right. I spent like, I don't even know, 15, 20 minutes trying to get it so we can slice up multiple limbs. But I think for me to be able to do that, I would need like a different dismemberment system. So I think in terms of scope, we're just gonna stick with singular slicing. The reason why I wanted multiple slices is because of this. Because I am gonna have some spots where there's multiple lasers. So what I could do is instead, if you pass over these kind of lasers, maybe I just blow up the person's body or something. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Maybe just their legs are left. I don't know. But we are going to have some lasers like this, which will probably stop you from jumping over or crawling under it. That's the idea, at least. That being said, you can kind of already do that, which is unfair, but we'll figure it out. Definitely not like perfect, but I haven't added anything like blood. Nothing like that happens just yet with the dismemberment. There's no blood coming out of the sliced joints, but later on we will add that. Kind of just cover up the effect and not make it look bland by adding blood and all this other stuff. I think should do pretty well. So let's see what we can do. After a little bit of extra work, I've added some blood effects that look pretty good. Now it's just, I think, on a basis of add some slicing sounds, and I think we could probably do a little bit more work to it, but I want to slap it into the level, and I want these to kind of move around in a specific section. So we'll see if I have to maybe make an additional blueprint or something for that. So let's get to it. Alrighty then. I have done an extensive amount of work. I added a little fire particle effect, which I'm probably going to change because I really don't think a particle effect is necessary. I think if anything, I could probably just do some sort of static mesh or something like that that always faces the camera. That way it's a little bit more optimized, but it's there. It works. I got some audio as well. There is a nice looping sound. And on top of that, I also got a sound effect when an enemy ends up getting hit by it. Or even us, the player. I grab this dude. Plays a cool little sound of them basically getting sliced. I think I could maybe make the sound a little better, but honestly, it's sounding pretty cool. I got it so that the lasers move on a spline. I created an actor that basically just has a bunch of these child actors attached to it. Now, this might not be entirely optimized, but for our purposes, it kind of works. And at least we're getting all of these moving around and stuff. So if anything later on, I can maybe figure out how to make it so this is a bit more of an optimal solution, but it's pretty cool. You can see that this is basically how the gameplay scenario works out, is you're essentially waiting for this block to go up so you can pass by. So you go in and then you wait for it to pass by again and then you move out. So pretty cool little combat scenario, a little bit of like a very simple puzzle. I would be surprised if people don't understand how to solve it, but yeah, I think it's looking pretty cool. I think there's a lot of edits that we could potentially do to it. I think changing the laser, like the way it looks, could be a good idea, but honestly, I'm kind of okay with what I have right now. Like, I think this is a good enough solution for the laser, and it slices enemies in half and stuff, and it looks pretty cool. The only thing I don't like is the player obviously has a little weird issue with the physics for some reason, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. Something I'm gonna do to kind of change up these walls and make it look as if there's like a laser passing by through here is using a scorched decal, and then from here I can probably like scale it down. We'll probably do that later on, not entirely ready to just slap that on just yet, but that's kind of the idea of what I have for the wall here in terms of what kind of decal or effect it's gonna create. But I would say that is a massive success. The laser works, you can kick enemies into it, do some really cool stuff. I am noticing my character's legs are somehow disappearing somehow. I don't know why, but let's just ignore that. I'm sure I'll figure out the bug for that later on. I think there's a lot of potential with this. I'm definitely going to place these in other places. I think this is the main area where it's going to be moving around. The other spots is mostly going to be static or maybe moving up and down. Who knows? Other than that, thanks for watching. Hopefully this was somewhat helpful, or maybe you found it interesting. And yeah, like and subscribe as per usual. And throw a comment down below. Maybe you can throw a comment as to what I should do next. Or maybe like another environment hazard. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Anyways, have a good one. Take it easy.